We better get started. It's 7:01.
Yep. All right.
If any of you are new to the group, if you can, at the very bottom of your screen, you'll see chat and click on that. And then you can either send it to the whole group or just to me. If you can send your name and your email and your phone number. You can also, I put my email at the top. So if you want to email me that would be okay too. And maybe a little picture of you. I have trouble remembering faces and names. So I put it in my phone, and that helps me to keep up with people. I appreciate that. This month's quote for the month is, "No one rises to low expectations." The book of the month was suggested to me by Michelle Chasen. She's in the group right now. It's The Master Plan by Chris Wilson. It's a real good motivational book. Chris is a black man that grew up in the bad part of Washington, D.C., and he got convicted of murdering a person, got life parole, and he was never going to get out of prison. And it just shows what you can do if you just do the right thing, keep doing the right thing. He did murder somebody, but he did finally get out, and it's a very interesting book. If anybody in the group, if you know of somebody that would be interesting for the group to hear, and if you would get me in contact with the person or have that person contact me, I'll try to get the person set up so that we can have a meeting. Or if you know a subject. One person one time was wanting to have a lawyer present. And so it took me about 8 months to figure out what lawyer and stuff. And we finally got a lawyer on there that was he was a CPA. No, he was a tax lawyer that dealt with retirement funds. And he presented for about 45 minutes, had a lot of good questions for him. Remember that tonight and every night, there is not any legal or accounting or professional advice. This is just for your entertainment. The people that are presenting tonight, it's Abby and Adam. I met them in the RIA group one time. He had texted me before he came to a meeting and told me about the bus and showed pictures. And so we talked, I don't know, sometime last month, and I asked Adam if he'd give his little story about how he and Abby got going and if the two of them could present, and they said they would. And so here they are. Go ahead and take it away, Adam.
All right, thanks everyone for showing up. We're really excited to present a little bit about our story. Just a year ago, we knew nothing about real estate, and now we know a little bit about something about real estate. From the title though, we are newbies, so obviously this isn't expert advice, but we're just looking forward to this. And a shameless plug, you can follow along with our pictures at Abby and Adam on Instagram. So who are we? This is a couple pictures of us doing the house and just living life, but we're pretty much your ordinary couple that just loves a good challenge. I grew up in the Midwest, went to college in Kentucky, and then moved to Denver in 2015. And then Abby.
I'm actually from Odessa, born and raised, but I moved away about 10 years ago, and I was getting my master's in Denver, which is where we met.
Yeah, so we met at church and just happened to be in the same life group together and reading the same book. And 6 months later, we became best friends and just started hanging out every day. And before you knew it, we were married. So that was kind of
It's pretty much that fast.
Yeah, I think we met and were married within a year. So pretty darn quick. So married life, it was awesome. We did the typical honeymoon. That's a picture of us actually in Cozumel, Mexico. We traveled. We lived like 200 feet from my office door. So I would literally just walk to work in the morning. We had amazing friends. We really did have it really good. But at the same time, I would go home for lunch those days, and there's a little piece missing. Like, we wanted to spend more time together. We've always talked about opening a business together. And then on top of that, we were paying $1,800 a month as newlyweds in Denver. And that almost killed me alone, to think that we were spending that much money right out the gate.
Yeah, so I was doing my thesis for grad school and was planning our wedding at the same time. I think I graduated one weekend, and the next weekend we got married. And so my fun like escape was just looking at crazy ways to live. And I was on Pinterest and I saw some families that actually lived in school buses. And at the time I really hadn't heard of that. Now I feel like a lot of our community has done that. So it almost seems like everyone's doing it. But so I was really excited about that, and I told Adam, and we just kind of daydreamed about that, probably for the 4 months that we were engaged.
Mhm.
And these are some of the couples that I actually saw on Pinterest and Instagram that got us excited about it. I think the one on the right is Fern the Bus, which they're fun to follow, and then the Maze team on the left.
Yeah, I remember Abby called up her dad and was like, "Dad, we have this amazing idea." And he goes, "Oh, you guys are dreamers." And then she's like, "Yeah, but we don't have any money." And he goes, "Oh, y'all are schemers."
Yeah, and that pretty much describes us. Just kidding.
We're trying to upgrade to dreamers again. So after much prayer and just looking for the right deal, we actually ended up finding the right bus.
The hard thing was, though, we had a list of criteria, and it's really interesting. The same with a home, like you know that you want like 3 bedrooms, you want at least 2 baths. The same kind of applied to a school bus because there's so many different lengths. There's a rear engine bus, front engine bus. The interior heights vary on all of the buses. So we really had to kind of narrow it down. And after doing some research, we thought that $4,000 was a great price to get what we wanted.
Mhm.
We knew that Adam's 6'2", so we needed a bus that was at least that tall on the inside, so he could stand up, since that's kind of important. And we wanted a shower, a toilet, a queen size bed. So that kind of led us to this 30 to 40 foot
Yeah.
range.
And for reference, most full-size school buses are in like the 36 to 40-foot range, so it's slightly shorter than a full-size school bus. But something we were finding is that those full-sized ones, the ones you always see on the road, they were actually the cheapest. So they were probably like $2,000 to $2,500 usually, out of the Midwest, could be rusty. So that was going to be kind of a commitment to drive out, fly out to like Illinois, and then hope that the bus made it back to Colorado. On the other hand, you could get a short bus, which is kind of like your stubby bus, and those were actually the most expensive. I think it just had to do with supply and demand, and people would really prefer to have a bus that was more agile as opposed to a bigger, massive bus that could accommodate you a little bit better. But yeah, we settled on the 31 or 2 foot is exactly what it came out to be.
Yeah, and another one of our issues, since, like we said, we were living in an apartment in Denver, and there was nowhere to park the bus and work on it. So we called everywhere. We called a Halloween place because we were like, they only use it once a year, so maybe we could park the bus there and work on it. We called mechanic shops. We drove around to different places that looked like they had land and just asked, can we pay you? And since it was a liability, we just kept getting turned down.
Yeah.
So I think we probably looked for like 3 months for the right bus and for a place to park it, and we just decided, you know what, maybe this isn't going to work out for us.
Yeah. So thankfully, one day I came home from work and I tell Abby, I'm like, Abby, I found the perfect bus. It was right up the road, so we didn't have to fly to Illinois or wherever it was. It was the right length. But again, we still had this issue where we didn't know where the heck we were going to park it, but we knew we wanted to make this deal happen.
Yeah, so we met, or we went and looked at the bus, but he was asking $4,500, but we were like dead set on $4,000. And so we only bring $4,000 up there. And we go and we talk to him. He's awesome. He has Adam drive it through the mountains of Colorado, which is terrifying because he's never driven a school bus before. Yeah. But anyways, he was super nice. And we were like, listen, all we brought was $4,000. Will you take it or leave it? And he was like, okay, fine, I'll take it. And we were like, well, actually, we don't know where we're going to park it just yet, so can we leave it here till Monday? And we can't find anywhere to park and work on it. Well, he ended up calling us that night, and he was like, hey, I talked it over with my wife, and if you pay us $50 a month, we'll let you park on it and work on it here. And so we pretty much got both of our prayers answered in one crazy foul swoop. It happened super fast. We got the bus that met every bit of our criteria, and for the price that we wanted, and because we were willing to pay like $400 a month to work on it, And so this was like a huge get because we knew we were going to have a lot of money to put into the bus.
Yeah, we would have done anything to park it there, and the fact that he was only charging us $50 a month was
yeah, we were using his electricity. He was like having wires for us. He was awesome.
Yeah.
But that was the breakdown. I don't know if I'm sure y'all saw it, but we ended up spending $23,000 on the whole renovation of the school bus.
Yeah, which we don't mention it later, but right after our trip, we actually ended up posting it on one of the schoolie forums, and we posted it for like $33,000, and we had so many people reach out to us. It was absurd, but then we decided to keep it. So all in all, it could have been a good investment, but now we still have a bus, which is even more sweet. So like anything you want to achieve in life, it comes with its fair bit of challenges. The picture on the left there is about a mile from where we were parking it, and that was the first time taking it out on a spin just to see how it would do. And right off the bat, the check engine light started blinking. All of a sudden, it just stalls, and I'm like, "What the heck? Like, how are we ever going to get this bus back up the hill? Because this is Colorado. Everywhere's a hill. How are we ever going to get this thing back home?" Well, we look into it and keep trying to start it, and eventually it starts. And we drive it back up the hill and try to figure out what happened, and we had a coolant leak. So the engine kind of went into this self-preservation limp mode, thankfully. Otherwise, it could have done some serious damage, but that was kind of our first challenge. On top of that, this was literally the middle of December, so we're talking sub-freezing temperatures all day long, and it was chilly. It was burr, but not the type of burr you probably came to talk about today.
One thing that was interesting with the bus was it's diesel, so there's not a lot of mechanics that work on it, first of all, and we didn't know anything about diesel, so that was something that we had to kind of trust other people on. And like Adam was saying, it was freezing while we were working on the bus. And so we kind of, and my family lives here in Odessa, and so we were kind of daydreaming about moving the bus to Texas because we thought we can get so much more done if we're not like just hovering by the heater every day. And it got dark at like 5 every night, and that's when he would get off work. So we were just working in the dark. It was freezing, and we actually get a call from the guy whose land we were parked on, and he said, "Hey, I got an offer on my house I can't refuse. We're moving in a month." And we were like, "Oh my gosh, okay, so we're going to Texas." And so we get everything set up to go to Texas. The night that we're getting ready to leave, we start the bus and we have 0 running lights. And we're like, okay, it's a 10-hour drive. We can't drive for 10 hours without any running lights. Super dangerous. Super long story short, we took it to a mechanic, didn't work out. And so we realized all we need to do is have a wire that goes from our brakes to these temporary lights we had in the back. And so we sorted that out. So now all we have is brake lights. And so we're driving to Texas. Within 2 hours, our engine light comes on. Our door that we had broken because we thought we were going to finish the bus there was swinging on the highway. It was just a mess. And so it ended up pushing back our time. We're driving. At this point, it's pitch black, and we're almost to Andrews. And so we're pulling into Andrews, and I get a call from my dad, and he's like, "It's not safe that y'all don't have running lights. You need to make sure, instead of brake lights, just go and plug your brake lights into a hot wire." Well, the bus is so loud that Adam can't hear me, and I think to myself, I know where a hot wire is. I don't need to tell him what I'm doing. So he's driving like 65 down the highway. I walk to the back of the bus. It's pitch black, so I'm using my phone flashlight, and I find a hot wire, and I take the wire that was connected to the brake off, and I take the light, and I connect them, and the
brakes seize at 65 miles an hour. The brakes lock up,
and I fly to the front of the bus because
she thinks I was just messing with her. Like, I just thought I would hit the brake right at that time.
I had no idea what happened.
She's like, "What are you doing?"
Well, that busted out all of our other lights. So at this point, come to find out, that was the lock for the handicap door. So the bus thought, I communicated to the bus that the handicap door swung open. So a safety precaution was to slam the brakes. So we learned that pretty soon on. That was our first trip.
Yeah.
In the bus. So that was all of our drama really in the beginning. But we made it to Texas in the summer.
We could finally start working on it again without freezing our fingers off. And that's a picture of Abby eating pizza while laying on the ground while we drove to Texas. So we get it to Texas, and we start working on it right away. So slow and steady progress. We kind of started laying out where everything would go: couches, kitchen, counter. You can see we were doing some framing, full-on plumbing. We had shower, vanity, bed area for sleeping, a nice little doggy nook, because we have 2 puppies, which you'll see in the next slides. And thankfully, we had a lot of resources here. So this definitely took a village, and we couldn't have done it without the people that we had supporting us. Both of Abby's grandpas are still around, and they live here in Texas. And it made their day, I felt like, to come and work with us every single day and just contribute to something that they thought was really cool. And we were just so appreciative to have that time with them. So you can see pictures of adding the air conditioning here on the right, starting to wire everything in. And this was one of Abby's best friends from college, and they just so happened to meet each other and marry each other. So that was like a dream come true. And then they were able to come down to Texas and enjoy some of the bus building with us. And yeah, on the right, just keep making progress. Abby's grandfather did some of the tile work for us, which was huge. And then finally, we were roadworthy. So that's a picture of us in Atlanta, one of the very first places we stopped.
We actually put a tow on the back of the bus, and we towed our Jeep. We had 2 couches that looked the same, and they lifted up for storage, and they also pulled out to make a really large bed. And you'd be surprised how many people actually came because they just wanted to stay on the bus. So we had so many friends sleep on that pull-out couch, which was so much fun. And there's both of our desk setups.
Yeah, so we were both working fully remote. I was doing software development stuff, and then Abby was doing stuff for her parents' company as like a business, business development. So kind of having workspaces was super important to us. And then to kind of make that really work, we were able to get a Wi-Fi hotspot with an unlimited data plan. And then we were just able to work fully remote on the road, and that worked really well for us. But we had all the amenities, and that was one of the key things about buying a bus, is that we really wanted it to be sustainable. We didn't want to cramp our style to where after a month it was just like, we got to go home, it's too hard. In this case, we built it out to the point where we had a stove, we had a kitchen, you name it. It was pretty simple living. It was everything that we needed.
Yeah, latte maker's really simple living.
If we didn't have that, this whole thing never would have happened.
Yeah, we had a propane stove, an oven, and it was awesome. And we had solar as well, and that really, we had a really good setup.
Yeah.
I feel like.
So as much as we could, we were off the grid. So we weren't plugged into RV parks if we could be, and just tried to live off the grid as much as we could.
And then here to the left is our little toilet area. Our bed was in the back, and then we had a vanity and a shower over here. This is our heater. The vanity was actually a countertop made out of concrete that a friend of ours did for us, which was really nice. And yeah, I think if we could do anything different, we might not have had a vanity. We could have gotten away with using just one sink. And we've seen a lot of stacking washer and dryers for RVs. And I think that would have been really nice just because of all the laundromats I had to go to.
Yeah, for sure. And then here's just kind of a picture to sum it all up from the front to the back. So all in all, we lived on the road for 10 months, and it took us 10 months to build the whole thing. So that was kind of our guideline, was as much time as we're going to put into this thing, we'd love to get that much time out of it. So we started in Odessa at H. It's a little confusing. And then we just headed straight east through Dallas, Louisiana, Georgia. A lot of our family and friends, because I went to school in Kentucky, Abby's family and friends, some of them have moved out east. So we got to see a lot of them. And that was kind of like our intentions, was if we're going to live in this bus, it'd be really nice to be able to catch up with some of our loved ones out east, because we were living in Denver and Texas for the last few years.
And when we went east, since that was the first kind of trip that we took, we still weren't really comfortable parking on the road and being off grid. And there's a ton of cheap RV parks. So our entire trip to the east and even into Denver, we spent at RV parks, which was really, really nice. And honestly, you have unlimited water, unlimited electricity. It was really like a lot like living in our apartment in Denver, really. And so that wasn't really anything different. And then once we got to Vegas, which is where his sister lives, we stayed there for a couple of months. We did RV there too. And our goal was to spend like 4 months in California. And when we got there, we went to San Diego, and the RV parks were like $150 a night.
It's
and
absurd.
We just knew that we couldn't afford 4 months of like, and a lot of them didn't accept, they're called schoolies, which y'all may have known that, but a lot of RV parks don't accept schoolies. And so we were constantly getting turned down. And so we ended up just deciding like, we're going to do off the grid. That's what the bus was built for. We're going to just be off the grid. And so the first place we parked was actually on the beach in San Diego.
It was a dream. You can kind of see it in this picture down here. But we were just driving across the bridge one day and literally saw like probably 10 or 20 RV parks just parked right on the shore of San Diego. And we're like, how is this for real? So we went there and we asked people, and they're like, yeah, we've just been staying here for a while. And we're like, this is amazing. Like, we're going to quit our jobs and just bum it here.
Which was short-lived because
So
the cops
short-lived.
came and
That
knocked on
night,
our door
they
that
kicked
night.
us out.
And they're like, y'all gotta go. But anyways, we parked next to another school bus, and it ended up being another couple our age doing the exact same thing we were doing, and we just hit it off with them so fast. So we traveled for the next 3 weeks with them. And so we hopped around San Diego just finding free places to park. And then we went up to LA to Costa Mesa and lived there for a while. We went to Paso Robles, and we met another couple that was doing the same thing we were doing, and we traveled with them for 3 weeks. And my favorite was where we parked here in San Francisco. You can kind of see it.
It's the Golden Gate Bridge, though, in the background.
It was just nuts. And just waking up in the morning and seeing the Golden Gate Bridge was just like nothing
Surreal.
else. And that was my first time to actually have to drive the bus. And I don't know if you've ever driven in San Francisco, but it wasn't ideal. And Adam was at a tech conference, and a cop came up to me and said I needed to move across town, which was like 30 miles across town is what she meant, or take a ticket. And I was like, I'll just take the ticket. And as she's riding it, I was like, I think I can do it. So I was like, never mind, I'll move. And so I drive the bus with the 2 dogs by myself through the crazy streets of San Francisco. It was the first time I was driving. And I feel like I blacked out for a second because I was like curb rashing the bridge. And I come to and I'm like freaking out. And I tell Adam about it, and he was like, the tires are like actually
I was like, why are the
scratched."
tires so perfectly black? They've been curb rashed so hard.
So I wasn't the best driver of the bus, but that was a great experience. We lived in wine country for a while. It was a blast. So it was crazy how many people were just so intrigued by the bus that they would just knock on our door and like pretty much walk right in. And they're like, show me around. And so we met so many people throughout the country, and I think that was probably our favorite part.
Yeah, police officers would want to come say hi and just get to know us. We had a couple in Sonoma. Memories. It's funny though, because you risked your life for $80. That was what the ticket was being threatened by the police officer. All in all, throughout, it ended up being about probably $300 to $400 total. So they're about $130 each. And so
like worth it.
Yeah, if we can live in San Diego or in California for 2-3 months for $300, that sounds good to us.
Yeah, that was the best.
That was the best.
And I think we'd do it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah, we miss it sometimes.
Yeah, we are actually gonna do it. But and then towards the end in California, it is kind of daunting. Like we loved the trip so much, but whenever we were in California, one of our biggest things about the bus is we didn't want to be a nuisance to anyone, and we wanted to like give more than we took, and so we would get up at like 4 a.m. to move where we parked our bus at night so we wouldn't get in anyone's way. And doing that for 4 months was really exhausting. And so one day we both kind of looked at each other and we were like, I think it's time to go settle back down wherever that may be. And that very same day I got a call from a family friend of mine. And I don't know if anyone, I don't know how many are from Odessa, but the new Marriott downtown and that Starbucks, my parents' best friends were the ones that built that or owned it, I guess. And they were about a month out from opening the Starbucks and could not find a manager. And so I have a background in hospitality and a master's in project management. So they called and just said, hey, we're starting training in 2 weeks. We need a manager. Can you come down for 6 months, help us start the business and hire your replacement? And me and Adam were like, let's pray about it. The next day, we're like, on our way.
Yeah.
And so we truck it from LA all the way back to Odessa. And we got here the weekend before I started. So we opened the Starbucks and it was a blast.
Yeah.
It took longer than 6 months, but
A year later.
Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of she was really preoccupied with building up the Starbucks, starting it from the ground up, and that was super time consuming. So on my end, I didn't have a ton of friends. This was kind of a new city to me. I had been interested in real estate. I just started learning about it on the road. So I was just nipping at the bit to kind of dip my toes in the water. And this was the perfect opportunity. So I found that for me, I just wanted to start driving for dollars. I didn't really know where to start. I didn't love the idea of doing like postcards and just like sending out a bunch of stuff and investing a bunch of capital. For me, it seemed like more than I was willing to risk, which in hindsight it shouldn't have been. But so I just started driving for dollars. I was looking for distressed properties, window units, unkept yards, back taxes, absentee owners, and I actually used a really good app that made it pretty simple for me. It's called Deal Machine, and it keeps track of all the properties that you've kind of inquired about. It'll even send out postcards with the click of a button. So it's super streamlined, and I would definitely use that again. But once we kind of identified those properties, we just started reaching out. So you can reach out via postcard, cold calls. I think I made one cold call, and I felt so hurt. They were rude to me, and I couldn't do it again. So I was all about the interpersonal. I would just reach out in Facebook and be like, hey, I saw your house and was really interested in buying it. Email, text, something. I tried to be as personable as possible, and thankfully that ended up working out for us.
And one thing you did, and I'm sure everyone knows about this, but we used the Ector County Appraisal District to get some information on who owned the houses and if they were behind on their taxes. And something, obviously we want this to be an investment for us, but we also want to help people out that are in a tough spot. And that's a really interesting balance, especially whenever it comes to like giving an offer to someone, because you don't want to insult them and you don't want to put them in a bad spot just because you know they're in a bad spot. And so I think that's kind of our heart is just trying to help people also, but also making it a good investment.
Yeah, we want it to be a win-win. So it was weird because like I had been driving for dollars for probably about a month, and I had some leads, but nothing that was super concrete. And truth be told, I kind of gave up. I put a month in, I didn't get much feedback. And this lady was one of my leads, and she was actually more persistent, I would say, than I was persistent. She reached out to us and kept saying, hey, like some stuff came up in the family. Can we push back our meeting date a few weeks? And then a few weeks later and a few weeks. So it had taken some time to really take action on this lead, but thankfully she kind of spurred on that interaction and we ended up meeting with her. So she contacted us. This is about what the property looked like when I drove by. I don't even know what stood out to me about this one.
I think the yard was overgrown, but
yeah,
this one
yard was probably overgrown, and I think there was some tin foil in the window. I think they were doing it for heating purposes, maybe. But it was a pretty standard three bedroom, 2 bath, 1,400 square feet in a C plus neighborhood. So here's kind of how we ended up making the deal. When we first met, we took her out to Starbucks and just bought her coffee and wanted to hear her story, what she was really looking for in selling. And she came to us with a list, probably 2 pages long, of where she was at in life, what repairs the house needed, how she justified her asking price. So right off the bat, she was only asking $97,000. The house wasn't super livable. So you can see in the cons on the left side, it did have a busted gas line. So she'd been living there for, I think it was a couple of years with no heat because there's no gas, and then no hot water. Thankfully, her mom lived right across the street, and so they would go take showers over there. But this was December when we were looking to buy the property, so it was freezing. They had space heaters going, but still, it wasn't great.
One cool thing though, we sending out letters to people asking to buy their house, because your house is something so personal. I was like, Adam, pray over this letter before you send it so it doesn't come off like, hey, we saw your house, it looks bad, can we have it? So he like prayed over the letter, sent it to her. When we took her out to Starbucks, she was like, I have to tell y'all, I was talking to my mom and I told
Adam, we've had some audio issues. You guys still with us?
I'm here. I can't hear them any longer. I thought that was me.
Yeah, I kept thinking that was me also. Let me call him on the phone.
Reaching out.
What did the old TV commercial say? Something about technical difficulties?
I'm not sure.
We are
Well, they were definitely onto some interesting discoveries as they go through driving up and down different blocks, and that's definitely something you should do. You should drive, take different ways home, look at, see what changes in neighborhoods. Always just take a different route home. You'll see something in your own neighborhood you didn't
Hey,
know
we're not
was
hearing you.
a few blocks away. So yeah.
Hey, Justin, quick question. Who do you use for insurance?
So for we'll do umbrellas as well, but we have a couple that we can hand out to you on that. We've got everyone from Progressive to Travelers, I think, is really who we use for kind of for main residentials, what you're looking for. But we've got different parks, different things. So, but yeah, sometimes they can package a lot.
Well, we have an RV park. Who would you suggest? Cover the park.
Let's get back to Abby and then
Go ahead.
and then we'll talk about that after the meeting.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry about that, everyone. Our internet just cut out.
Internet. Yeah, it happens. It happens.
I'm right now on my phone hotspot, so it's pretty slow. Let me switch back over to the Wi-Fi.
Right.
I might lose you for a second, but we'll be right back. Okay, I'm on the Wi-Fi. Can everyone hear us?
Yes.
All
Yeah, you're
right. Technical difficulties at its finest.
Everything's good.
Okay. Cool, and we're back.
Good.
So yeah, so
She was going to tell her mom something last time you were talking.
That's right.
okay.
It was about heat, and then you were going on about something that her mother had told her.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, it might have been this. She might have already heard this, but she just told her mom she couldn't figure out how to sell it, and her mom just said, "Go home, don't worry about it, pray about it, and we'll go from there." And she got home, prayed about it, opened her email, and had an email from Adam. And so that's why she was so persistent about meeting us, and
Yeah.
that's kind of what got the ball rolling, which was really cool.
Yeah. It's definitely a God thing. But so we kind of started trying to get this deal moving forward, and as part of doing our due diligence, we wanted an inspection. It was our first real estate investment property ever. So we didn't know exactly what that would look like, but we thought it'd be prudent to just order an inspection. So that inspection came back. It did need a new roof, and we didn't even know what that would cost. So we grossly overestimated that at $14,000. And we were like, to make it fair, let's just split the difference. So she would front the $7,000 on her half, and then we would pay $7,000 for the new roof. And we just knocked that off of the purchase price. So that's how we got to that $90,000 mark. In hindsight, I think the roof cost, because we did end up putting a new roof on it, I think it was closer to $5,500. after several quotes, that's what we ended up with. But yeah, so we really wanted to make this thing happen. I honestly think even if the value of the house was 80% of market value, I still think we probably would have taken the deal, just to get the learning experience and get our foot in the door. But thank God we ended up with what we felt like was a low risk opportunity to get our feet wet. So right off the bat, it was pretty nasty. She had lived there for probably 10 years with her pets and her nieces and nephews, and there wasn't a whole lot of self-care going on, and nor was there a lot of care for the home. So there is like a lot of poo and pee of dogs everywhere. I think there was one light working in the whole house. They couldn't afford some of that, so I don't blame them for a lot of what they were going through, but it definitely needed its fair share of work.
And honestly, we have been looking at so many like off-market homes that were also 90,000 that were way worse. So this to us was kind of like, wow. But after we started tearing it all apart, it was a little gross. But this is what it looked like when you first walked in. And we decided we want to blow down that wall. We wanted a bigger kitchen, so we blew down a couple walls.
Yeah, we've been watching a lot of HGTV. We had to take down a wall or two.
Yeah. We probably could have done that. But we took down the walls. Next one. And this is what it did look like. That's our tiny kitchen. And if you see over here, we brought this wall all the way back to here. Yeah. So I think it was about 5.
Yeah, 4 or 5 feet into the garage. We were going to encroach into that area. And you can see, actually, I'm going to go back. On the kitchen area, there was like a little pantry back there where the washer and dryer were. So not only was it narrow, but it was also not very deep. So just more pictures of us tearing down those walls. On the right, you can see there we braced the ceiling joists just to support the roof basically while we removed the load-bearing wall. And then we had a good friend of ours he went to school for architecture. He was a general contractor for a while, so he was actually able to spec out a steel beam for us, and we were really grateful for that because he just did it out of the kindness of his heart. So in the picture on the left, you can see the walls removed at this point. Those temporary braces are up supporting everything. And then I just rented this contraption at Home Depot for like $40 for 4 hours. Just threw the beam on there, cranked it up, put a couple columns under it, and then he was able to weld those in, and it was sturdy as could be. And you can see in the right side, the wall on the kitchen has come down, and it's just opened up to the garage at this point. That was another fun project. We started framing in the wall for the kitchen, but because we did encroach on the garage area, it was kind of recessed like an inch or two. And so we had to pour a bunch of cement and try to level that out as best we could. We didn't get it perfect, but after it was all said and dried, we were able to grind it down, sand it down to make it nice and smooth. And again, that wall also that used to be in the kitchen was load bearing. So you can't really tell from this photo, but there is some bracing going on up above with some big 2x8s that were paired together to catch all of the joists that the wall used to catch. So the concrete's dried. We tried not to tear into too much sheetrock. We ended up tearing into a lot of sheetrock. You can see on the right side, there's a pipe there in the bottom of the photo, that white pipe. That's our drain for our new location for the washing machine. We just ended up putting that in the garage. The garage from the get-go couldn't have fit like a big F-150, which I feel like, or a big F-250, which I feel like everyone drives around here. So we just figured, let's just make it a little smaller and make the kitchen a lot more usable. So we framed in a little corner pantry.
And took down that back wall.
Yep. We had some insulation work to do. We pulled permits on everything. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, so it was just a lot of Googling, YouTubing, talking to permit people, and we just had to insulate to the zoning codes. And then the sheetrock. So we hung all the sheetrock to save as much money as we could, but tape and texture seemed like a tedious task. It seemed like it would take forever, and it seemed like if we didn't have the skill, it could really mess up the presentation of the house. So we hung the sheetrock, but we hired out all of the taping and the texturing of the house, which is probably one of the best things we could have done.
Yeah, they were awesome, and we can give their contact too because they were they were such hard workers, and they did an amazing job.
Yeah.
And I will say something we didn't realize about the house, which I feel like this is true with almost every house. There's always something. We knew the plumbing was probably bad because the gas line, all of that. So we had to get a plumber, and then we had to do a lot of electrical work because Adam looked at all of it and he was like, at any second, this could just catch on fire.
It was bad.
So we had to redo all of the electrical. And so those were things that we didn't really budget for, which luckily we got the house at such a good price that it didn't really kill us that much. But
yeah, it's funny to look back at our scope of work that we gave the hard money lender. So we'll get into the numbers later, but the hard money lender required a scope of work just to know what the ARV was probably going to be. And the allotment of our rehab budget was just not even close. But I guess, what do you expect on your first deal?
So here's an after. Adam laid all the floors. We saved a lot of money just by going cheap with our cabinets because this is going to be a rental. We got the stove and the dishwasher from Craigslist, and yeah. And the fridge she left.
Yeah.
So here's a picture of one of the bathrooms. Adam laid the tile. All we changed in the shower, luckily, was the shower door in both showers.
Yeah, so that actually saved us because in our scope of work, we allotted 10 grand for bathroom renovations, and we probably spent less than $1,000 on each one of those. So the rest of that 8 grand allotment was able to go towards a ton of contingencies that we just hadn't planned for.
And then our countertops, this is another thing that really saved us a lot of money. We found something called stone coat countertops, and it's just basically epoxy countertops. And it was really fun to do, and we learned a lot, but it saved us a ton of money. So the more we did it, the better they looked.
Yeah.
And even they look better in person too. Like our family came and they're like, whoa, these actually look like real marble countertops. I don't know, you can't really see it in these pictures, but so that's one thing. If someone's like rehabbing a house and they want to know what's a cheap alternative to like marble or stone, anything like that, if you Google stone coat countertops, it's an awesome.
Yeah, there's a big YouTube presence and he's all about it, and he's all jazzed up about making countertops, so pretty fun to watch.
Yeah. And this is the outside of the house. Adam tore down this little overhang.
Just to give it a little modern feel, we took all the fascia off. You can see there used to be this like swirly fascia. We just put all new fascia up and then painted it black.
And then the white, we did a lot of research on painting brick, and it really needs to be on like brick that can withstand it. And our brick was crumbling. Yeah. And so we looked into it and we looked up
German smear.
And it was an awful task. Awful. I had to do all of it by hand. So everything that's white was touched by my hand.
She did it
but
all.
We love the finished product. I keep saying I'd do it again, but I don't know.
And it's weird because like German schmear, it's like, what is that? It's actually just a thin set. So similar to what we would use on the tile flooring underneath the tile. So we basically thin setted the whole exterior of the house. It's breathable. So I know if you do some Googling, you'll see like, I hear a lot of feedback with, if you paint brick, it can't breathe and it's easier to crumble. Well, in this case, it's somewhat porous and it actually lets the brick breathe. So I think it is a healthy alternative. And it probably cost us $150 to make it white.
Yeah.
Mortar mix is super cheap.
Yeah. That was the house. And here's the numbers.
Yeah. So did the numbers work? It's funny because we're going to look at these numbers and they're going to seem to be good. But going into this deal, we had no real idea of what the numbers were going to look like, other than we thought we were getting it at a good price. We didn't know any sort of formulas. Now I've read some books and kind of have an idea of what we should have been looking for, but
there's actually a guy in this real estate group. I can't remember his name. He's the one that has the huge house that he's still working on. I think y'all are going to go see it.
In Midland.
I can't remember his name, but he said...
It's either Steve or Ruben.
Ruben. I think it's Ruben. It's not Steve.
Oh, okay.
He's still working on his house. It's that really big one. And he said something like, you pay for school.
Oh.
So even if you like even if we lose money on this, like we're learning something, and even if
Yeah.
we have to pour money into it and we don't make a ton of money, we still learned a ton,
Yeah.
just like you would
Worst
pay
case
for
scenario.
school. So I thought that
It
was
was
really
Cole
cool.
Maxey.
Cool. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, Cole Maxey, he's on the tour next month.
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll have to make that for sure. So yeah, just to get into the numbers, we purchased the house for $90K. We used a hard money lender and financed the vast majority of it. We put down 20%, but our closing costs were still $3,700. Holding costs was just interest paid to that hard money lender, and then that along with unoccupied insurance policy, which was quite a bit more expensive than I expected. And then our rehab costs. So we ended up putting $38,000 into the rehab. We initially budgeted 30 grand, so we were over by 8 grand. But we just got the appraisal back this week. We were really excited to see that it appraised, even in the down market, from what I can tell. It still appraised for 200,000, and our total cost was 137. So we were a net profit of 62K. So we finally get to talk about Burr. We did end up refinancing. So our down payment on the house was $16,000. Our closing costs, and this is all of our out-of-pocket costs for the house, ended up being $63,000. Because the house appraised for $200,000, we were able to do a 75% LTV. We still had to pay off our hard money lender, which was going to balloon at the end of this year. So we still had some time, thankfully. And then we also had closing costs on this refinance and then some escrow reserves. So all in all, we were going to end up getting a check of roughly $69,000. So we put 63 in and we got 69 back. And then we still had a house that was going to cash flow after that, which we're really pumped about. And then it wouldn't be a Burr without doing a little bit of rental. We just listed this a couple of days ago. Haven't had a ton of traction yet, so we'll see what that actual rent income ends up being. But our monthly payment is going to be right around $1,060 P&I, and then including insurance and taxes. So our gross rent, we listed it for $2,000. Our PITI is the $1,060, and then we built in some costs as far as vacancy, repairs, and CapEx goes. So overall, I think if we do get that much for rent, we'll cash flow at $640 a month. Fingers crossed. And then, of course, we got to repeat. I think it was a cool lesson to us just because we made this deal with her, and then her mom and her wanted to leave town and move to another part of Texas. And so her mom has actually been really diligent about giving us the first opportunity to buy her house. She wasn't going to give it to us as near of a good of price as what we got this one for, because her house is actually livable. Everything's been updated. But if anyone is interested, I'd love to maybe talk about that deal. And then we're going to try to repeat this in Dallas. So we're planning on moving in the next month. And I've started to look into real estate there. It seems like rent is a little bit lower and the house prices are a little bit higher there, but I think where there's a will, there's a way. So we're going to do our best at continuing this investment. And then what do we learn? Pretty simple. It's possible. I think a lot of times I have self-doubt of whether or not things are possible. And you see people on YouTube and they're doing it and it's like, yeah, but how do you do it? It is possible. You just got to be diligent about learning and committed to your goals. It's fun. We've had a lot of fun. We've learned a lot about ourselves and grown because of it. And then manual labor is hard. So I don't think it's a very scalable model to do all of the work ourselves for the duration of our investing careers. I would love to move more towards managing crews, or even having a general contractor knock it out for us. And if that costs us $10,000, then I think it could be worth it if we can scale this a little bit better. Keep in touch. We really like talking about real estate. We just like talking to people in general and meeting people. And so you can reach out to us on any one of these avenues. That's all we have. I know that was a lot. Does anybody have any questions?
Very exciting, guys. Very exciting.
Thank you, Justin. Appreciate that.
Okay. Well, I actually had a question. So you went in and did the roof line. Now, what you were saying is you Googled around and found that you didn't have to have a contractor. You were able to pull a lot of those city permits yourselves. How did you finding getting those permits pulled? A lot of people don't know where to go. Could you go on to that just a little bit? Give them a little bit of some of the gatekeeper aspects, that type of thing.
Yeah, for
Thank you. That's the
sure.
question.
And that's a really good question because this was new territory for me too, which probably brought up the most anxiety in the project because I knew that I could, for the most part, control the construction and things, but I couldn't control getting permits. I couldn't control getting passed on permits because I didn't necessarily know what I was doing. There's a lot of different types of permits. There's electrical, there's plumbing, there's mechanical. So like your HVAC, there is your insulation, your structural. So there's a lot of different things that certain permits do require a contractor that's licensed. Thankfully for us, I was able to do most of the electrical work, but Abby's dad actually owns an electrical company. So he was able to pull the permit. And then he had someone overseeing my work so that it was all done to code. And then he kind of finished it off for us too.
And one thing, who did you get in contact with? And they kind of tell you what permits needed next.
Yeah.
So like one person will come out and do a permit and they're like, okay, you need to get your insulation.
Yeah. So I was constantly calling the permit office being like, okay, can I cover up now? And they'd say, no, you actually need your top out inspection. So they'll work with you. I went into their office several times and they were super nice, easy to deal with. And I think they just appreciate that you do go through the permit process. But those are kind of the three big ones that you really can't get around doing yourself is electrical, plumbing, and mechanical. Like if you're doing some major things, they're going to want to see a permit on those. Now, if you're just, if you're just replacing some valves on your plumbing, like obviously that's really simple DIY stuff. But if you're rerouting plumbing lines and having vents out the top and having drains, like I think there's a lot to know around those that I didn't know. So I think to a certain extent, you do need to get permits for all that. As far as like structural goes, we were lucky in the sense that we did have our friend spec out the beam. So he drew up plans for us and to scale and that beam, and then we brought those drawings to the permit office, and they gave us a structural permit. So I don't know if our case is super standard in that I feel like we had a lot of resources, but certainly they're there to help you, and they weren't bad to work with at all.
Excellent. All right. Well, good. Yeah. Using your city to help you along is good. And then you had friends and family. It's always who you know and bringing them to work with you.
Really
Right.
is.
Yeah, for sure.
It looks like we had Juan ask a question. He said, how did you guys find your lender?
Yeah.
Your hard money.
If you would like to answer that, you can. We sometimes, but that's up to you guys. So definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. How did we find them? I think I reached out to
Was it
someone.
Cole also, the hard money. That's how we found out about
You're
hard
right.
money.
You're right. So Cole Maxey, who again is going to be on the tour next month, he used a hard money lender for his property. And I think we just asked him on the tour last year, like, how did you get financing for this? Because we want to buy distressed properties. I've tried the conventional route, and once banks find out that the properties aren't livable, they'll turn you down real quick. So we dealt with Michael Helling, I think it is, out of HouseMax. And I'm more than happy to give you his contact information because they've been awesome. We paid 9%, which I've talked to a couple of different hard money lenders in the past months. And 9% actually seems to be like a pretty good rate for a hard money lender for someone who it's their first deal with. I know they have some sort of seniority system with some of them where they'll lower the rates as you continue to invest through them. But in this case, we paid 9%. Our closing costs were 2 points and some additional fees. And it was really simple. Like he just wanted a scope of work, which our scope of work, like I said, wasn't even close to what we ended up doing. And then they ordered an appraisal and I think they saw that the market value was grossly higher than what we were paying. So they're safe, it seems like. And yeah, we used House Max Lending out of Austin, Texas.
There. All right, good. Yeah, and there's plenty of equity lenders out there. We have a few in the group to comes in and out. They'll help you with that as well. So yeah. So, and definitely do your research on equity lenders. They're a good place to get money, but you have to have your exit strategies planned out. That's always a good thing. And there's it's just everyone has a little bit different relationship you have to kind of have again with them. They want that with hard money. So, yeah.
Yeah, and again, we were definitely new to the hard money loan realm. So Michael from House Max, he spent hours on the phone with me, just walking me through kind of the process and answering my every question that I had. So those guys are there to help you and help their companies make money, and they do that through helping us.
Cool. All right. So you guys still doing campaigning, mail marketing? What are y'all doing?
Yeah.
Just driving around.
Yeah, so my plan right now is we're kind of taking it easy since we're leaving Odessa. But once we do move to Dallas, we're going to live in the bus again for a little while, just in an RV park while we find a house in Dallas. And then we have full intentions to start driving around again and having those conversations, hopefully on the street, to make some more deals. Yeah, I've gotten onto a wholesalers list in Dallas also. Forget what the company is called, but I think they're pretty big, and they send like wholesale emails every day with properties in the area. They're decent deals.
And one thing that's cool is like, and this, I mean, we've only done this once, so this could be like an anomaly, but we created that relationship, and we with the lady we bought the house from, and we did everything we could. We paid for all the closing costs, and which they normally cover. And we did as much as we could to take care of her. And she was so pleased and thankful that she told her mom, who then wanted to sell to us and give us the first opportunity. And so I think just my hope in the future is just we'll make some more relationships like that. And when people see how seamless and easy it is to sell to us, and I'm hoping that that'll get a little bit of the word out too. Like, these guys really do want the best for your house and for you, and it'll be seamless and easy. And
yeah, we kind of went out on a limb. So we closed on the loan in, what was it? November. We closed on the loan in November, and we actually let her live there until middle of January at no cost.
Holdover occupancies. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. I don't even know if we built it into the contract. It was kind of just, we trust you.
Everyone's like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And we're like, yeah,
it's
probably
risky, but again, we kind of
and I don't know that we do that for every single person.
No,
that was just
we had kind of grown in relationship with her. By the time she left us from Starbucks on our first meeting, she literally said, "I love you guys. We can't wait to talk soon." So it was clear that like she wanted this, we wanted this, and we could help each other.
Good. Sounds like an evangelical. So, or
She was.
So you get a. It's always good, guys. Get testimonials. Yeah, put those in your portfolio. Yeah, sounds good. And holdover occupancy is a good thing to have.
You can build that into your contract.
Yeah, you just have it signed at closing.
Okay,
that's cool.
Nice.
Yeah, you can leave people. We have free and clears. We'll leave them in there until they're done. Either they get their house built in Florida, or they just need to move, or let them live there until they're way up there in age. So they don't need it. They don't necessarily. We don't need their property right now. Sometimes it's the property next door. It's really the key. So you should have that. And in those, sometimes here's a key with your holdover. You don't need to necessarily make anything. Just say you can just charge them what they were already paying in a mortgage. So that can be their rent payment. You just become landlord. They become a rental. So.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Makes sense.
And that's done at closing.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Rick asked, how long did the rehab take?
So we held the loan for 8 months. It's been 8 months now. But again, we did let her live there for about 2 of those months. So
And then we took 2 months off during quarantine. And what was so funny was it rained a ton during that quarantine and we were out of town. And when we got back, we had letters in the mail from people trying to buy the house because our yard had grown so much.
it was up to my waist.
And so we were so embarrassed and we felt so bad. But yeah, so people were trying to buy the property off of us because they thought the same
Right.
thing. But yeah, so all in all, it took us about 5 months of actually working on the house.
Yeah.
A lot
Okay.
easier than the bus.
And that,
That's good.
Mhm.
yeah. And that was kind of a pain point too, is like this hard money loan. I didn't know what it would look like if we did take 12 months and it ballooned. I didn't know what it would look like, but I knew I didn't want to be in that position where a loan is ballooning and we can't pay it off.
Yeah, so we did the rehab all after work, before work, and on the weekends.
Yeah.
So, but it was a lot of work, but it was really good.
Yeah.
We have a lot of, I know you guys have a lot of thank yous out there coming through the chat to you. And this has been definitely, I think, always good to see a flip and a first flip go well. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. We're really
Thanks.
fortunate.
Thank y'all. We learned a lot from y'all too.
Yeah. Seriously. Thank you, Lee, for putting on these groups. I think the information and the relationships that we get from these is invaluable. So we really do appreciate everyone's efforts on these.
Well, it helps people like you stepping forward and presenting because that encourages everybody. You know, I don't know about Justin, but even though I've been doing it for a while, I still get thrilled just hearing people's stories like yours and seeing your bus and seeing your rehab and hearing how you overcame little obstacles and stuff. Breaking out on the highway and still managing to get the bus home.
Yeah, it was a mess. Whenever we rolled in, we had one functioning headlight, and we passed a state trooper, and we were just like, no.
We didn't even have license plates. We had
Oh, yeah.
insurance.
Yeah, we didn't have anything, and my parents were just like, "What are y'all doing?"
Yeah, it was
But yeah,
bizarre.
it was fun.
Perseverance and a little bit of risk taking.
Yeah,
Right?
for sure.
That could be our motto.
For sure.
Good.
Anybody else have any more questions?
Yeah, we're happy to stick around and chat if anyone has any more questions. Has anyone actually seen a loan balloon on them before?
Seen what?
A loan balloon? I know, because I really don't know what that entails, but
Sure. Yeah, we put them in our contracts and we've had them balloon. Yeah.
okay.
So it depends. Sometimes a balloon just means, in Texas, it definitely just means an increase in percentage rates.
Oh,
So you're talking something different if you're in California. They can balloon it to become due.
okay. So it's not like if you can't pay the entirety of the loan right now, we get your property kind of a thing. It's
Could
like
be.
your payments will increase.
Yeah, if you're talking in your equity loaning, they're looking at it as they're gonna call that loan, but that's not the same as an equity loan is not the same on something as a mortgage. Okay, so that's a deed of trust is a different thing.
Okay.
So anyway, but yeah, they can call that loan on you because it's an individual loan, unsecured.
Okay. Good to know.
Just look at your writing. Everything's different with that. So because you're messing with you really are just investors. It's an individual to individual.
Yeah. We actually had another hard money lender reach out to us from Blink Lending. I don't know if anyone's ever dealt with them, but they were asking if we had any hard money needs. And at the time, we're not really looking to invest in the immediate future. But then he was trying to sell me on actually, like we would basically front our capital as a private money lender. And he was actually saying they would guarantee 9%. And then they actually, their hard money loans are at 10.5, and then they sell those loans, and the actual investor is getting paid 9 of that, and then the 1.5 goes towards Blink. just from my understanding. And it sounded like they inherited the risk. So I didn't look too much into it, but I think it could be something for the potential future.
Yeah, a lot of guaranteeing and loans percentage-wise, especially when they can make a 1 or 2%. And yep, brokering
Okay.
happens in the note business a lot as well.
Okay.
Let me see here in the chat.
Yeah, I must be seeing a different chat. I'm not seeing any activity.
Yeah, you're good. So yeah, you guys, I would say, I love the presentation, and y'all went through and put something nice together for us to look at. That's always a good benefit. And back and forth, you guys make a good pair. It sounds like kids are following along, I'm sure, in y'all's footsteps a little bit. See what y'all are doing. Did they get involved in the house?
Well, we don't have any kids.
Yeah, thankfully we. What's that?
The ones in the pictures.
Oh.
I have 5 nieces and nephews. This is my mom's office, so she's got pictures of everyone back here. But
Yeah, but we do have 5 nieces and nephews, and they're crazy.
yeah, they're actually moving to Dallas too. So we will have a whole.
Yeah, so the whole family's getting involved, it sounds like. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much for having us.
Yeah, we really enjoyed presenting, and thank you all so much for listening.
Well, you all did a great job. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
We enjoyed it too.
All right.
If
Well,
anybody wants to
everybody.
sit around and talk, let me know and I'll leave the thing open. I'm going to head in the other room, but I can leave it open.
Yeah, sounds good. They can leave on their own. Everybody can open their mics if they'd like to and just have a little bit of conversation.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you all.
Was that Omar?
I'm here. And then Justin, I went ahead and I texted you. Just hopefully you can give me that, or if you know any private money lenders, I'd like to contact them and see what they can do for me.
Yeah, and if you'll send over, I'm sure you did. You texted me, so let's see. Okay, yeah, I'll get that sent over to you. Make sure I've got that in my message.
Okay, thank you.
Ashley, can you tell us a little bit about you?
Yes, so I've actually been learning about wholesaling real estate for a few years now, and I'm finally really getting my feet wet. And I've been talking to sellers, and I'm kind of just, I'm a little scared right now. I want to make sure that I'm doing everything right. I don't want to, not come through for my sellers, and I want to be able to negotiate a good deal. So I'm with y'all, what do you look for in a property? Most of the leads that I'm getting right now are on properties that don't need a lot of renovation. For one reason or another, I'm talking to a lady right now, she needs to move within 30 days for her job. Her house is fine. I'm gonna go look at it in 2 days, and I'm not sure what kind of offer to make on that, maybe 70% of the market value. Would that be, does that sound good to an investor? Would that be something that y'all would be willing to work with?
Actually, it sounds like that's a motivation seller, and that's what you call a motivated seller. It has nothing to do with the house, and that's a big part of our business. Of course, we don't like flips as much as the other, so you have to massage that motivation a little bit, but you got to make sure that it works. But 20% is what you're going to need. Another 10% in this market would not be a bad idea. You might look at terms.
Okay, so 70%, offering the seller 70% of the market value does seem like something that would potentially produce a deal.
If you're wholesaling it,
right? Mm-hmm.
Justin, you're on mute. Your mouth's moving, but you're on mute. There you
Oh
go.
boy. Okay. So I don't know if you heard anything. So let's see. So so 70% is what you're looking for. So you definitely need 20%, and then you're going to need another 10% to make up for marketing as well as for the market. and then that's a big deal in this right now. But it's a motivated thing. So you need to be agitating the motivation. It's not the pain necessarily, but the pain is that she had to move. So it's not her house. And we, again, that's the big part of our business is motivation. Finding those motivators. It's not always about the home. So we don't flip in our business as much as we buy pretty homes. So
Okay.
we're looking for motivated sellers.
Okay.
So yeah, job transfer. Perfect, Ashley. And if something you can't sell that under a wholesale, call us.
Okay.
Are you in Odessa or Midland?
Midland.
We take both. We do all the counties.
Okay, well that sounds good. I've been doing a lot of marketing for these type of, deals. I'm not prepared to invest in them myself right now, but if anybody would like to do business with me, just go ahead and send me your email and I'll send you properties as I find them.
You might put in the chat, everyone, your email address and your phone number. And that way everybody will have it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We just sent our email over. It's funny because I always think of wholesale deals as like the grimiest properties, but it sounds like in your case you're finding some really solid houses.
I
and
am.
they're motivated.
Mm-hmm. The thing right now is just learning to negotiate. Like I said, these are going to be my first few, appointments where I'm talking to sellers and trying to negotiate a price. So I'm kind of nervous about that. But I've had quite a few people reach out to me, and their homes are actually pretty nice. They're just wanting to move fast.
It's amazing. Best of luck. It's exciting.
Yes.
I'm going to mute myself.
Hey guys, well,
Go to the
yeah,
side.
I've actually got to head out to one of our big RV parks and check on lighting systems. We just had energized, so hopefully 16 lights come on. That's what I'm hoping. So anyway.
Thank you guys. It's been really informative. I've enjoyed our meetup. So.
Yeah,
Thank
likewise.
y'all.
We're gonna head out too.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Thanks.